Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is embarking on a two-day visit to Washington to meet U.S. President Donald Trump. That meeting will not be as easy, or it comes in the backdrop of tensions between the two largest NATO allies. That's a complicated status, to say the least. Our West Asia Bureau Chief Daniele Pagani looking at what lies on the table.
The upcoming meeting between Erdogan and Trump is aimed at mending their troubled ties. But it is not going to be easy. The two leaders have often praised each other and are similar in their strongman political style. But given what is on the table, affinity might not be enough. The hottest topic will be Turkey's purchase of the Russian advanced anti-aircraft system, S-400. Washington had warned Ankara that the weapon poses a threat to NATO's arsenal, exposing it to Russian intelligence. But the appeal fell on deaf ears, and the S-400 are now in Turkey and ready to function. Washington retaliated by expelling Ankara from the F-35 program and will not provide the country with the most powerful stealth jet fighter it has ever had. This is the worst internal crisis NATO has ever faced. Never in its history has a member of the alliance bought military equipment from Russia. Washington will request President Erdogan not to activate the S-400, but it is unlikely to be accepted, given that Turkey has spent $2.5 billion for the missile systems. The White House has warned that sanctions are ready to be imposed if an agreement fails. Turkey too has put forward its demands and complaints. The Syrian scenario is on top of Ankara's agenda.
We will express Mr. Trump with documents that our agreement on this military operation has not fulfilled. It is currently not possible to say that these terror organizations have withdrawn from the Turkey-Syria border.
Turkey has never accepted the U.S. anti-ISIS alliance with Syrian Kurdish forces, which they consider a terrorist organization. Ankara is leading an offensive against the Kurds in northern Syria to create a safe zone under their control. More than 300,000 people have fled the area, and President Trump aims at requesting Turkey to implement a permanent ceasefire. But it is another tough proposition. Turkey is mostly coordinating with Russia in the area and has no intention of stopping until all Kurdish forces have fully withdrawn. There is another major unresolved issue on top of President Erdogan's agenda. Fethullah Gulen, the man he accuses of being the mastermind of the failed 2016 coup in Turkey, lives in Pennsylvania, and the United States has not agreed to Turkey's multiple requests to extradite him. It is a lot for a two-day visit, but officials on both sides are optimistic and saying that the meeting is focused on finding pragmatic solutions rather than worsening the crisis.
The differences are very many, and it is very difficult to see how it will be possible in only 2 days that the two presidents will find effective solution. Daniele Pagani reporting from Amman for Wion, World is One.
And joining us now on the broadcast is our correspondent Harry Horton, joining us from Washington, D.C. Also joining us is Daniele Pagani, live with us from Jordan. Coming to you first, Harry, a highly anticipated meeting, and who would have thought a few months ago, given the tensions between the two sides, that this meeting would even take place? What are you picking up on what the U.S. hopes to achieve at the end of those talks?
Well, the US is playing down expectations of any concrete results from the meetings today at the White House. Senior White House officials told reporters just a few hours ago that their focus is on diplomacy and the two countries talking, and not on coming out of this meeting with any concrete agreements. So I think it's fair to say we shouldn't expect too much to come out of these talks today, but you're right to say that tensions between the United States and Turkey are incredibly high at the moment. The relationship is as fraught as it's been in decades, and really it's only that personal relationship between President Trump and President Erdogan that's holding things together at the moment. So many issues where the two countries seem to be diametrically opposed. The S-400 missile defence system, Turkey's policy towards Syria and the US withdrawal from northern Syria. That's a huge area of contention. Human rights in Turkey. The list goes on and on and on. So, you know, because the two countries are so far apart on these issues, it's hard to see them resolving them in a meeting that lasts just a few hours today. But I think what the US hopes and what the White House is hoping is that by the two leaders being in the same room and talking together, they can calm those tensions slightly, and then going forward over the next few months, they might be able to smooth those issues out even more.
All right, stay with me, Harry, also getting in Daniele onto the conversation. Daniele, as we've been reporting, there is more to it than meets the eye here. First, with the invitation that was extended by the American president and the very fact that his Turkish counterpart has accepted that invitation. What's your assessment of the larger message that goes out once that meeting does take place?
Well, the main message is that things need to get on the table and there needs to be some solutions to at least two of the most urgent problems that they are having. Despite Syria seems to be the largest and most problematic arena in which the two countries are involved, that might be the only thing that could go on the backdrop, that could just remain on the second line. But the S-400 is definitely the most problematic topic that will be definitely discussed during this meeting. President Donald Trump, despite blaming the previous administration, the Obama administration, for pushing Turkey into buying the S-400, the Russian missile system, wants them to remain switched off. He doesn't want Turkey to use this Russian technology on Turkish soil. And this is a very hard sell because Turkey paid 2.5 billion at least of US dollars in order to purchase these very advanced weapons. But this is the most important crisis currently on the table. There is a trade-off. President Erdogan wants the United States of America to extradite.
Right, important point that, yes, go ahead.
Turkey has requested multiple times to the United States for extradition and they have always denied. So maybe these two elements can be traded off one for the other.
How do you agree? And that, of course, something that has been broadly discussed as would be one of the several issues that would be on the table and several contentious issues that, of course, that are in the backdrop once those talks take place.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that's high on President Erdogan's agenda, trying to get this extradition of Fethullah Gulen. That's something he's asked for a long period of time. But look, if President Trump were to move an inch on proposing to extradite Fethullah Gulen from his residence in Pennsylvania, there would be uproar in the US Congress. Lawmakers would see President Trump as bowing down to who they view as an authoritarian dictator in Turkey. So I think the pressure that President Trump would find himself under if he were to go ahead and do that would be immense in Washington. So to me, at this stage, that seems unlikely. But of course, with President Donald Trump, you can't rule anything out. And if he sees the opportunity to make some sort of a deal with President Erdogan that he thinks is in the best interest of the United States, then he might well go ahead and do it. You never quite know with President Trump, but as I say, the White House has spent a great deal of effort trying to tamper down expectations of the meeting today. So it would be surprising if we saw any dramatic revelations such as that.